The Warriors escape Game 7 versus Houston off of a Buddy Hield legacy game and advance to round 2, while Minnesota has been resting after embarrassing LA in a series where most people picked against them. Both teams did a lot to impress me in round 1, but both, especially the Warriors, also exposed what a lot of their major weaknesses are. I think this series could go either way, and I am especially unsure for this one as I do not have any footage to go on, as these teams have not matched up since Jimmy Butler got traded to the Warriors and made them a completely different team. So we're riding kind of blind here. All I ask is that you give me some grace. Warriors versus Timberwolves. Who will win? Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, and check us out over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you would like to enjoy this as an audio-only experience. Since I am riding high and running out of time because once again I've found my way towards being awake at 7 a.m. when I should have been in bed by now, I decided to go looser with the scripting in this video. I don't need a season matchup in order to make predictions, but it definitely makes those predictions a lot easier. It's a lot more volatile this way because I can guess how these teams are going to approach these matchups, but there is literally no on the floor evidence. So rather than saying, hey, Porzingis is going to play off of Josh Hart because I saw that being the main strategy, I don't have any proof that how they will defend each other is what I'm going to say. So this is some pretty loose speculation. But how will the Warriors defend the Wolves? Jimmy Butler on Anthony Edwards? That's the main thing I'm wanting, just from enjoyment perspective, because like I don't want to be a boomer about it, but I do miss when star players guarded each other, especially when they were the right physical matchup for it. I imagine that Moses Moody or Gary Payton will be getting the matchup for a large percentage of the game, but I think Jimmy Butler should at least close on him. And honestly, same exact approach in the reverse of it. I think Anthony Edwards won't guard Jimmy Butler more often than not. He'll probably get like DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Jaden McDaniels on him. But I would like if Ant was on Butler to close, and I would like if Butler was on Ant to close, but I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they defend each other fairly little in this series. I don't have any evidence to back up either way. I'm sure the Timberwolves are going to try and target Steph. I'm honestly not worried about that. I don't think he's a guard who you can target super easy now. Yes, there will be plays where he's just physically outmatched, but I think he's as good defensively at this age as he has ever been in his career. He was amazing defensively the whole time against Houston. I don't know about it after game 5, frankly, because he had a legacy game, but I don't think that Rudy Gobert would dominate the paint on the offensive glass or finishing or anything like that. Not enough to cause like big loony minutes and important moments in the game like the Rockets managed to force in game 7. Julius Randle, I do not think will do great in a one-on-one matchup with Draymond Green, but I also don't think he's just going to implicitly get that all of the time, because I could also see Golden State essentially taking this free safety role and putting him on Jaden McDaniels, letting McDaniels shoot whatever threes he wants, and Draymond just interrupting action elsewhere on the floor. But I'm sure he'll also just get a good amount of Randle, and Randle is not going to body Draymond Green, not the same way he was able to body so many players from the Los Angeles Lakers. Could Golden State's zone work similar to how it did against Houston? Well, not to that degree, because the Timberwolves are just a way better team. Not only are they a better three-point shooting team, they are a better decision-making team. And both of those issues made the zone a motherfucker for Houston, because being able to find the weakness within the zone was an ability that basically no one besides for Sengun had on the floor. Fred VanVleet, a little bit. That's about it, though. No one else is a good passer on that team. So a lot of ISO buckets, a lot of post buckets, a lot of open three-pointers that did not go in. You're not going to get that same effect against Minnesota. Like, sagging off of Jaden McDaniels is not the same as sagging off of Amen Thompson. It's definitely not. Like, there's a degree of non-shooter factor for the Timberwolves, but it's not what it was for Houston. I do think the zone was effective. I think they will use it more, but I do not think they can bank on it. I especially think that Anthony Edwards' playmaking especially based off of round one, has just become too good to simply suggest that like he's going to fall apart based on different coverages, different pressures, double teams, all of that. I think he's going to be fine. Now, how fucked are the Warriors on the offensive glass? That is honestly the most important thing because if they're going to give up a ton of extra possessions, obviously that is not a good thing. Also, I think the Wolves do great at getting threes off of offensive rebounds. They seem better at it than anybody else in the league. Now, how would the Wolves defend the Warriors? Well, Jaden McDaniels on Steph seems to be their matchup preference historically, to my understanding, but that is, of course, based entirely on regular season stuff because, fun fact, the Timberwolves and Warriors have never matched up in the playoffs before. The Wolves have only been in the playoffs a few times, and I believe it was the early 2000s, but when the Warriors were not really in a very strong era, so they did not have the opportunity to match up. And then the Timberwolves teams before this did not go that far or the Warriors weren't the Warriors when they went that far last year. I think McDaniels is a fine matchup because his length can ensure that you're not going to give up too much space on jumpers. He's super quick, so like I'm not worried about him getting outspeeded by Steph. Steph does not have the first step that he used to. He does not get his separation off the dribble the same way that he used to. So if this was a younger Steph, I would say that this won't work as well, but I think this is a great matchup. Steph's going to be fine. Steph's going to hit shots. He's going to cook, but I think this is a good matchup for Minnesota. Here's the big thing. This is the major factor that scares me for the Warriors in this series. Rudy Gobert having Draymond Green, Gary Payton II, and Jimmy Butler to sag off of on the defensive end is amazing for Minnesota. The Warriors need to do everything in their power to minimize these lineups where all three of those players are on the floor. Also, Kevon Looney being a non-floor spacer, like if you are putting 2 to 3 non-spacers on the floor out there at any given time, Rudy Gobert can just stand next to the basket and not give a damn. So that at that point, the paint is borderline completely cut off. That could present a huge problem. And I know you think, okay, like you get Gobert on a switch. Maybe he's sagging off of Jimmy Butler, but if Jimmy has the ball, he can attack him off of the dribble and get an easy opportunity, maybe get to the free throw line, get to the rim. Well, we saw how Rudy Gobert handled the switch against Luka Doncic in round one. That is, I think, pretty replicable in this series. I think Jimmy Butler's faster than Luka Doncic, and so is Steph. But at least for Jimmy, if he takes a jumper, I'm not worried about that. And as long as Gobert does a good enough job staying on his feet, not getting blown by, and not falling for foul baiting, then I really don't think Jimmy's going to be able to like cook that matchup. I think Steph will hit some tough threes. That one's probably in their favor. But otherwise, like Gobert, just stick under the rim, try your best not to get dragged out of the paint, and there's so many non-shooters on the floor, you really won't get punished for it. I also think that Julius Randle could do a lot of damage as a free safety help guy on, off of some of those non-shooters. Like, let's say that the Warriors have Draymond and Gary Payton, or Kevon Looney and Draymond Green, or Kevon Looney, Gary Payton, and Jimmy Butler on the floor. Like regularly, you will have lineups with 3, but at least 2 non-spacers. If you have 2 guys at almost all times who cannot shoot the ball on the floor, Minnesota is going to just camp in the paint. And Houston did exactly that, and it slowed them down a lot. But I think the Timberwolves can slow down Golden State's offense a lot this way while having an offense of their own that will be much better than Houston, and Houston pushed them to 7 with their shit-ass offense. The big thing here is the supporting cast for the Warriors just has to show up. They have to show up big time because Pods was the only guy for the Warriors who averaged 10-plus points in that round 1 series. It was Jimmy and Steph on the carry. They needed to backpack for most of that series, and I don't know if Buddy Hield has another 9 3-pointers in a pivotal game left. I don't think he's going to do that again. I don't think anyone on this roster, besides for Steph, can have a game like that again. It's a problem. And I think that is what's going to decide this series because to put this rather simply, Minnesota has a way better role player core. They have more shooters, they have more players that you can consistently rely on, and most importantly, they have a ton of lineup versatility. An issue that the Lakers ran into in round one versus Minnesota is they were hard committed to small ball because Jackson Hayes is shit out of a butt. But the Warriors have the same issue where they are pretty hard committed to this small ball. Kevon Looney did good in his minutes versus Houston, but he was also a neutral net rating overall because of the offensive consequences that are associated with playing him. Minnesota was able to put Naz Reid at the center position, space the floor, but still have size while playing Rudy Gobert 25 minutes per game because of his offensive limitations. The ability to just say, oh, our most important and best defensive player, we're only going to play him 25 minutes. That right there, that it's good. It's not good for the Warriors though. Just like the lineup versatility. That's what I was talking about. Lineup versatility. They can just go with so many different approaches, and the Warriors are stuck with theirs. And I don't think it's a terrible approach, but I think it is one that is too heavily dependent on two-star players in a league that is defined by depth. The only way that the Warriors win this series is if one of their guys who are not Jimmy and Steph step up in a serious fashion, or if they just do so collectively. I also fear that Steve Kerr is going to get outcoached. Like, Chris Finch, I think, has drawn the short end of the stick in terms of the praise for how that Lakers series went. As often is the case with coaches, they usually don't hear shit when they do good and hear a bunch of vitriol when they do bad. But his approach with Julius Randle on LeBron, similar to Cat on Kevin Durant last year, was super bold and pretty damn effective. And I just feel like he's a really good strategist. And Steve Kerr, dude, Steve Kerr is still one of the better coaches in NBA history, but sometimes I look at him and feel the same way that I do watching Joe Biden give a speech. Like, is he even awake? He looks frozen. He looks like he's lost out there. Like, Steve Kerr on the sideline when he's coaching the Warriors gives the same vibe as Joe Biden after he gets like he's done with the speech and he just turns into a Roomba after he like trying to walk and like walking into walls and shit. Just oh my god, it's like, dude, it's not 2015. Stop living off of that reputation. It's the same fucking thing. So I think Chris Finch will outcoach Steve Kerr as well. On top of that, Steve could make up for the disadvantage in depth and versatility by being the better coach, but I don't think he's going to. So my official prediction is Timberwolves in 6. I think the NBA is proving to be more and more about depth and lineup versatility, and I just don't think the Warriors role player core will bring enough to the table. They really can't play big effectively without huge sacrifices to their offense. They have so many non-shooters. Buddy, Pods, and Moody are the only real shooters on this team besides for Steph, obviously, and all three of those guys are wildly inconsistent. I believe in Jimmy and Steph, but I believe in Ant-Man more, and I believe in depth and the importance of it more. I do, however, think the Warriors have a strong chance and will be competitive throughout this series. However, my only real take, the only thing that I feel confident in, that I'm trying to call my shot here. I think it'll happen. I think Draymond Green is going to have a dirty play on Anthony Edwards, and it will likely be like the straw that breaks the camel's back, which maybe there should be 20 of those by now, but I think everyone loves Anthony Edwards so much, the NBA does especially, that if he just takes his ass out of the air, if he seriously injures him, this is where the pitchforks and fire and all that actually ends up coming out. That would be what does it. But yeah, that is it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this one, but possibly Nick as well. We do not know what the game plan is, but that is it. Goodbye.